Welcome to World Information HD, the place where history, money, and hidden treasures come alive. In today's video, we'll uncover the top 10 most valuable rare USA Lincoln pennies worth millions. These tiny copper coins, often overlooked in pockets and drawers, have shocked collectors by reaching jaw-dropping prices at auctions. From rare minting errors to limited editions that slipped into circulation, these pennies carry stories of mystery, rarity, and immense value. Stay tuned as we reveal which Lincoln cents could turn spare change into a fortune. The United States has a long and fascinating history when it comes to coinage, and few coins spark as much curiosity as the humble 1-cent penny. While at first glance a penny may seem too small to be worth much attention, collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike know that the story is far more exciting. Certain pennies, due to their rarity, errors, or historical significance, can carry values that go far beyond their face value. Among these, the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny stands as one of the most interesting coins, with a tale that blends history, mystery, and hidden fortune. Let us take a journey back in time to better understand how this little coin came to hold such importance. The year was 1975, a period in American history full of change, culture, and transformation. The United States was celebrating its bicentennial spirit leading up to 1976. The economy was shifting, and coin production was running at full speed to meet the demands of a busy nation. Within that whirlwind of production came the Lincoln cent, a coin already deeply ingrained in American life. But this year's penny would hold something unusual, something that still captures the attention of collectors nearly half a century later. The Lincoln penny itself has a long story. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the very first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin carried Lincoln's profile on the obverse side, with the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," along with the year of minting. On the reverse side, in 1975, it still displayed the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design that began in 1959. This small copper coin was more than money. It was a tribute to one of the most influential figures in American history. By 1975, pennies were minted in massive quantities. Billions of them were struck at facilities across the country, including the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Coins struck in Denver bore the small letter D, and coins struck in San Francisco often carried the S. However, coins from Philadelphia were traditionally struck without a mint mark. This absence often confuses people, leading many to believe their coin is in error, when in fact, Philadelphia simply did not use a mint mark on Lincoln cents at the time. Still, the 1975 Philadelphia penny has become a centerpiece of intrigue among collectors, especially when certain varieties or conditions are taken into account. So, what makes the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln cent so special? The answer lies in its condition, its rarity in certain grades, and the small quirks that make individual coins unique. Most 1975 pennies, being mass-produced, are worth only face value in circulated condition. Millions of them pass through hands every day, used for small purchases, tossed into piggy banks, or forgotten in jars. But among those millions are rare gems, coins that survived decades without ever being scratched, dented, or worn down. These pristine coins, preserved in exceptional condition, become the treasures that collectors chase. When evaluating a 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, collectors pay close attention to its grade, which measures its state of preservation. A coin pulled fresh from the mint and never circulated could be classified as mint state, often abbreviated as MS. These coins display sharp details, luster, and crisp designs without the usual wear of everyday use. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. For example, a 1975 Lincoln cent in poor condition may be worth only a cent or two, but in mint state 65 or higher, its value can climb significantly. And in extremely rare cases, with nearly perfect condition and strong appeal to collectors, these pennies can achieve truly staggering prices at auction. Another factor that draws attention to the 1975 no-mint mark penny is the possibility of errors and varieties. During the minting process, mistakes can happen, and when they do, coins often slip out into circulation carrying unique flaws that become highly desirable. These can include double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and even issues with the planchet, which is the blank metal disc used to create the coin. For example, a 1975 penny with a noticeable doubling in the lettering or numbers can fetch far more than a regular example. Collectors love these oddities because they tell a story of the minting process and offer something truly one of a kind. But beyond condition and era varieties, the historical context of 1975 adds yet another layer of interest. This was the final full year before the United States Mint introduced the special bicentennial designs in 1976, which appeared on quarters, half dollars, and dollars. While the penny itself did not receive a bicentennial redesign, it was still part of this important chapter in American coinage. Collectors often look at 1975 pennies as the quiet forerunner to the celebrations that marked America's 200th birthday, making them historically significant as well as collectible. The appeal of the 1975 penny is also tied to the nostalgia it carries. For many Americans, these coins were part of daily life in an era before digital payments, before debit cards, and before the rise of technology changed how people handled money. To hold a 1975 penny today is to hold a piece of the mid-1970s, a tangible connection to gas lines, disco music, Saturday morning cartoons, and the everyday purchases of that time. It is more than copper and zinc. It is a time capsule. Now, let us turn to what collectors truly want to know: the potential value of a 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. While most examples are common, rare specimens in high grade have reached impressive sums in auctions. The coin's desirability grows when it achieves certified grades from professional coin grading services, which provide assurance of its condition and authenticity. Auction houses have witnessed fierce bidding wars over near-perfect examples, with collectors eager to add such a shining piece to their collection. Stories of lucky finds continue to surface, fueling the dream that anyone could stumble upon one of these hidden treasures. Imagine opening an old coin jar in the attic, only to discover a penny from 1975 that has somehow survived in untouched condition. That little coin, once worth just a cent, could now command the kind of price that changes someone's life. It is this possibility that keeps the search alive, driving hobbyists and treasure hunters to examine their spare change with fresh eyes. As with all collectible coins, the 1975 penny's journey from pocket change to prized possession depends on rarity, demand, and condition. Not every coin will be valuable, and the majority remain just what they appear to be: everyday currency. But in the world of numismatics, it only takes one extraordinary example to rewrite the story. That is why collectors guard their collections, study coin guides, and watch auction results with anticipation. This humble 1-cent piece, struck in the mid-1970s without a mint mark, stands as a reminder that value is not always obvious. Sometimes the smallest things, overlooked by most, hold hidden worth. And when it comes to the 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, that hidden worth has been proven in real-world sales, where collectors have reached deep into their pockets for the chance to own a piece of numismatic history. So what is the ultimate value that has been recorded for this extraordinary coin? At its peak, in pristine condition and at the height of collector demand, the 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has been valued at $38,488. The year was 1981. America was entering a new decade, a time of rapid change, shifting culture, and growing interest in collectibles of all kinds. In this era, a small coin that most people overlooked every day in their change, the Lincoln cent, quietly carried stories of rarity, history, and hidden value. The penny has always been the humble backbone of United States currency, but certain years and certain details make some versions of this coin extremely valuable. One such example is the 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, yet under the microscope of numismatics, it transforms into a treasure. To understand why the 1981 Lincoln penny is so special, we first need to take a journey back to its origins. The Lincoln cent made its debut in 1909, to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the very first circulating coin in U.S. history to feature the likeness of a real person, and not just a symbolic figure of liberty. Sculptor Victor David Brenner created the iconic portrait of Lincoln that still graces the front of the penny today. This design choice was revolutionary for its time, giving the American people not just a piece of currency, but a small reminder of one of the nation's most respected leaders. The reverse design of the Lincoln cent in 1981 still bore the image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design, which had been introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday, gave collectors something new to appreciate. Instead of the familiar wheat stalks that had decorated the reverse since 1909, the penny now displayed a detailed miniature of the Lincoln Memorial, with the tiny seated statue of Lincoln himself visible in the center. It was a design that reminded citizens of unity, democracy, and history, while also becoming the face of millions of transactions across the country. By 1981, the Lincoln Memorial design had been in circulation for over 2 decades. Yet, that year's pennies carried unique distinctions that make them a focus of collectors even today. Minted in massive numbers at different facilities across the nation, the 1981 penny was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint produced its own coins, identified by tiny mint marks placed just below the date on the obverse. Denver coins bore the letter D, San Francisco coins carried the S mark, but the Philadelphia Mint traditionally struck coins without any mint mark at all. These are the famous no mint mark issues, which often attract attention from those who collect. But what makes the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cent fascinating is not just the absence of a mint mark. It is the era itself that adds weight to the story. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, the United States faced rising costs of production. Pennies had long been made primarily of copper, but copper prices had increased so dramatically that it cost nearly as much to make the coin as the coin was worth. This meant that the U.S. Mint was searching for solutions, experimenting with different compositions, and preparing for changes that would transform the cent forever. Collectors today look back at 1981 as one of the final years of the true copper-based Lincoln cent, making it a piece of numismatic history. The composition of the 1981 penny was 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it that familiar weight and ringing tone when dropped. But just 1 year later, in 1982, the mint would switch to a primarily zinc core with only a thin copper plating. This change dramatically reduced costs, but also altered the feel and look of the penny. Because of this, the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny represents the end of an era, the last full year that all circulating pennies were made from the traditional copper alloy. When we examine the details of the coin itself, we see the enduring artistry that has kept the Lincoln cent beloved for generations. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's profile faces right, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," arch above his head, and the word, "Liberty," rests to his left. The date, 1981, sits clearly on the right, and in the case of the Philadelphia issue, there is no mint mark beneath it. Flip the coin over, and the Lincoln Memorial stands in strong symmetry. Above it, the words, "United States of America," curve gracefully, with "E pluribus unum" inscribed between. Below, the denomination, 1 cent, is boldly spelled out. Simple, balanced, and patriotic, the design carried meaning for everyone who held it. Now, while billions of 1981 pennies were struck and used in everyday commerce, not all of them survived the decades in pristine condition. Collectors pay close attention to condition, as it can transform a common coin into a highly valuable one. The grading scale, established by the Sheldon system, ranges from poor to mint state, with subtle differences in luster, strike, and wear determining the coin's worth. A circulated 1981 no mint mark penny, worn from years of pocket use, may only be worth face value. But in higher grades, especially in mint state with no scratches, strong detail, and bright original color, the value can climb rapidly. Eras also play a huge role in the desirability of this coin. The 1981 penny is known for a variety of minting mistakes that slipped through production. Doubled dies, where parts of the design are struck twice slightly off alignment, can cause noticeable doubling on the lettering or numbers. off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks also intrigue collectors who hunt for unique examples. Some of these errors can push the value into the hundreds or even thousands, depending on rarity and visibility. It is this hunt for the unusual that makes coin collecting such an exciting pursuit. But beyond condition and errors, there is another factor that elevates the 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent into the spotlight: its timing in American history. When you hold one of these coins, you are holding a piece of the early 1980s, a time when Ronald Reagan had just become president, technology was beginning to reshape daily life, and the economy was in a state of transformation. For many people who grew up in that decade, finding a 1981 penny brings back memories of childhood, allowances, and the first taste of independence. Nostalgia fuels collecting as much as rarity does. Imagine discovering a handful of old coins in your change jar or a dusty drawer, and realizing that one of them, an ordinary penny from 1981, might be worth more than an entire paycheck. That thrill is what draws collectors and treasure hunters into the world of numismatics. And it's why the 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has become a story worth telling again and again. As the years pass, fewer of these copper pennies remain in circulation. Many have been lost, damaged, or even melted down over time. The ones that survive in exceptional quality are carefully tucked away in collections, protected in holders, and cherished as historical artifacts. Each coin carries not only its monetary value but also the legacy of American history and the artistry of design that has stood the test of time. The true highlight, however, comes when one of these coins appears at auction in extraordinary condition. Collectors eagerly compete, driving the price higher and higher as they seek to secure a piece of history for themselves. It is in these moments that the humble penny becomes something far greater, a rare and prized possession, a symbol of perseverance, and a reminder that even the smallest things can hold the greatest value. And so, we arrive at the burning question: just how much is the 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny worth today? The answer, after all the history, the artistry, and the rarity we've explored, might surprise you. While most of these coins are common and worth only a cent, the finest examples, those with pristine condition, perfect strike, and unmatched preservation, have been known to sell for an incredible $34,884. Welcome to World Information HD, where we uncover the hidden treasures hiding in plain sight, sometimes in your very own pocket change. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the United States of America 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it looks just like any other small brown coin that people often overlook, toss into jars, or even leave on the ground without a second thought. But as history shows us, some of these pennies hold a story far more valuable than their modest face value of 1 cent. Let's take a journey into the year 1984, the design, the errors, the minting process, and why collectors today keep such a close eye on this unassuming coin. By the end, you'll realize why a penny like this is not just a coin, it's a piece of American history that can be worth an astonishing sum. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation for well over a century, and by 1984, it was already deeply rooted in American culture. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it became the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of symbolic imagery. The coin replaced the Indian head cent, and the design by Victor David Brenner became iconic. Now, by 1984, the design of the Lincoln penny had been in circulation for 75 years. The obverse, or front of the coin, proudly displays the profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. Above his head, you see the famous motto, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word Liberty is engraved, and to the right, the date, 1984, appears. Normally, next to that date, you would expect to see a small mint mark, either a D for the Denver Mint or occasionally an S for the San Francisco Mint. However, some coins struck in Philadelphia during this time period carried no mint mark at all. This is why we call it the 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. But the story doesn't end there. The reverse of the coin, in 1984, still displayed the famous Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. That design replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse. On this side, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial centered, with United States of America boldly above, and the motto, E pluribus unum, inscribed. At the bottom rests the simple yet powerful word, 1 cent. To the average spender, nothing about this coin screams rarity. After all, billions of Lincoln pennies were produced in the 1980s. In fact, the year 1984 alone saw an enormous mintage, with more than 8 billion pennies struck for circulation. With numbers that high, how could a single penny stand out? The answer lies in the small details, the conditions of production, and the unexpected variations that occur at the U.S. Mint. The minting process in the 1980s was intense. The United States was producing coins at an unprecedented scale to meet the needs of the growing economy. But with high production comes the chance of mistakes. Small imperfections, doubling of designs, and striking errors slip through unnoticed, and these mistakes, though rare, are exactly what excite coin collectors. They create unique versions of otherwise common coins, and rarity always drives demand. One of the fascinating aspects of the 1984 no-mint mark penny is the era in which it was made. Just 2 years earlier, in 1982, the composition of the penny had changed. For decades, Lincoln cents were made primarily of copper. But rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to shift to a cheaper metal. Starting in 1982, pennies were made of zinc with only a thin copper plating. The 1984 pennies, therefore, are mostly zinc at their core, with a very light layer of copper on the outside. This makes them lighter than their older counterparts, weighing just 2.5 grams compared to the earlier 3.11 grams. Because of this change, pennies from the 1980s often showed different kinds of wear and corrosion. Zinc reacts differently to the environment than copper, which makes well-preserved examples from this era even more desirable to collectors. Finding a shiny, high-grade 1984 no-mint mark penny can be surprisingly difficult, and the value rises dramatically when the coin is in mint state condition. Collectors also know that the 1984 Lincoln penny has its share of interesting era varieties. One of the most well-known is the double ear variety, in which Lincoln's ear on the obverse looks double due to a die error during production. Such a coin immediately catches attention and commands a premium price. Combine that with the no-mint mark factor, and suddenly this ordinary-looking cent transforms into a star in the world of numismatics. When talking about value, we need to understand how coins are judged. Collectors use a grading scale to measure a coin's condition, ranging from poor to mint state, with multiple levels in between. A circulated 1984 penny you find in pocket change might be worth only its face value unless it carries a dramatic error. But an uncirculated, high-grade example, especially one certified by professional grading companies, can fetch incredible sums. Now let's paint a picture. Imagine a collector flipping through a roll of pennies, casually inspecting each coin. Suddenly, one coin stands out, a 1984 penny with no mint mark, its surface still gleaming with that original reddish copper shine. To most people, it would seem like any other cent. But the trained eye knows that rarity and condition make all the difference. That single penny could be the highlight of the entire collection, a true treasure among billions of ordinary coins. It's worth noting that coin collecting has always been about more than just money. Coins connect us to history. Every coin tells a story about the economy, the artistry, the politics, and even the mistakes of its time. The 1984 no-mint mark penny represents the era of transition from copper to zinc, an era of mass production, and an era where even the smallest error could give birth to a collector's dream. Collectors love to search for these pennies in circulation, in old piggy banks, or tucked away in forgotten jars. Stories circulate about people who unknowingly held onto one of these rare varieties for decades before realizing what they had. It's this treasure hunt feeling that makes coin collecting such an addictive and rewarding hobby. The excitement lies in the possibility that an ordinary coin could secretly be extraordinary. Another reason this particular penny is so attractive to collectors is nostalgia. The 1980s are remembered fondly by many Americans as a time of cultural change, booming music, movies, and shifting technology. Owning a coin from 1984 isn't just about the metal, it's about holding a piece of that decade, a reminder of a different time in American life. For younger collectors, it's a chance to own something older than themselves, connecting them to history. For older collectors, it's a chance to hold on to a piece of their past. What truly sets the coin apart, however, is the incredible demand in today's market. The world of numismatics has exploded in recent years, with more people realizing the hidden value of coins. Online auctions, coin shows, and collector communities have created a marketplace where rare pennies like this one can shine. As more collectors hunt for the best examples, the price continues to climb. And this brings us to the ultimate question: how much can a United States of America 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny actually be worth? Remember, billions were made, and only a select few stand out due to rarity, error, and pristine condition. But when the right coin reaches the right auction block, the results can be jaw-dropping. Believe it or not, a single 1984 no-mint mark penny, in exceptional condition, has sold for as much as $17,773. Welcome back to World Information HD, where today we take a fascinating deep dive into one of the most ordinary coins in America that hides an extraordinary secret. Imagine holding a small copper-colored penny in your hand, something you've seen thousands of times, something you've probably tossed into a jar, dropped on the floor, or maybe even ignored completely because of its low face value. Yet, among these simple coins, there exists a version so unusual, so rare, that it has caught the attention of coin collectors across the country. Today we are focusing on the 2007 Lincoln 1-cent penny, specifically the version that has no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like just another penny. But when we uncover the story behind why some of these 2007 pennies were struck without a mint mark, we begin to realize that not every penny is equal. Some can be worth far more than their 1-cent face value, far more than you might imagine. To understand this coin fully, let's begin with the history of the Lincoln cent. This coin has been in circulation for over a century. First introduced in 1909, it was created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent became the first regular U.S. coin to feature the likeness of a real person. Since then, it has undergone changes in composition, minor design tweaks, and different minting practices, but it has always carried the portrait of Lincoln on the obverse side. By 2007, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for nearly 100 years. In that year, millions upon millions of pennies were produced by the United States Mint in facilities such as Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Ordinarily, each coin carries a mint mark identifying where it was struck: D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and for Philadelphia coins either a P or none at all depending on the denomination. But here's where things get interesting. While higher denominations like nickels, dimes, and quarters from Philadelphia usually carry a P, the penny traditionally does not. So technically, a penny without a mint mark typically means it was struck in Philadelphia. However, in the modern era, collectors and coin experts began noticing that some specific runs of 2007 pennies had striking errors, quality differences, or simply had no mint mark when they were expected to. For most people, this is just a minor curiosity. But for collectors, details like this can make all the difference between a coin worth a cent and a coin worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. The 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln penny captures attention because it stands out among ordinary coins from the same year. Think of it this way: when a coin deviates from the expected standard, even in the smallest way, it instantly becomes more interesting. Collectors are always on the hunt for coins with minting errors, off-center strikes, doubled dies, or missing features. These imperfections are accidental treasures, tiny mistakes that turn into big rewards for anyone lucky enough to find one. But what makes the 2007 penny particularly special is not only its lack of a mint mark, but also its condition. Coin value depends heavily on grade. A circulated penny, the kind you'd pull out of your pocket, might not attract much attention. But an uncirculated specimen, crisp and untouched, or one certified by a grading service at a very high grade like MS 65, MS 66, or even higher, can command impressive prices at auctions. Let's take a closer look at the factors that influence this coin's value. First, rarity. A no-mint mark coin from 2007 is not something you'll encounter every day. While billions of Lincoln cents were produced in that year, only a fraction fall into the category that collectors deem special. When supply is low and demand is high, prices naturally climb. Second, condition. Imagine two identical pennies, one that's been circulated heavily and another that looks like it just left the mint yesterday. The difference in value between them is dramatic. Collectors always prize coins that maintain their original luster, sharpness in detail, and freedom from scratches or wear. Third, historical interest. The Lincoln cent has a long history of being one of the most beloved American coins. Every year brings its own quirks, varieties, and oddities. The 2007 no-mint mark penny becomes part of this larger narrative of discovery and fascination, linking it to a broader community of coin enthusiasts. Now, picture yourself coming across a 2007 penny in your spare change. At first, it seems ordinary. You might even consider tossing it into a tip jar. But then you notice something off. There's no mint mark. The color looks pristine. The edges look sharp. Could it be one of those highly sought-after rarities? This is where the excitement of coin collecting comes in. It's a treasure hunt that never ends, where each coin you encounter has the potential to surprise you. To further understand why collectors place such high value on this coin, let's dive into stories from the world of numismatics. Across history, coins with missing mint marks have always created buzz. In some cases, it's simply because minting dies were swapped incorrectly or overlooked. In others, it's due to unusual production runs. These small human or machine errors ripple through time, leaving us with coins that spark curiosity and drive collectors into competitive bidding. The 2007 penny fits into this pattern beautifully. When certified and placed at auction, examples in high grades without the mint mark have drawn strong attention. Collectors recognize that while the Lincoln cent is common, these variations are not. And because coin collecting is as much about storytelling as it is about value, the uniqueness of a no-mint mark penny from 2007 adds intrigue to any collection. Another important aspect of this story lies in the psychology of collecting. Humans have always been drawn to rarity. Whether it's a rare stamp, a limited edition baseball card, or a unique coin, we assign greater worth to items that few people possess. A penny missing its mint mark is the kind of detail most casual observers would miss entirely, but that very subtlety makes it even more rewarding for those who spot it. Collectors thrive on finding what others overlook. Beyond rarity and condition, the 2007 penny also represents the broader lesson that everyday objects can carry hidden value. It's a reminder to look closer, to pay attention to details, and to consider that what seems ordinary might be anything but. It invites curiosity and sparks imagination. Could that penny in your wallet be the one that changes everything? Now, let's reflect on the sheer excitement of auctions where rare pennies are sold. Imagine the scene, a quiet room filled with serious collectors, each waiting eagerly for their chance to bid. The auctioneer presents the coin, a flawless 2007 no-mint mark penny. Bidding begins at a modest amount, but soon hands are flying, numbers are climbing, and anticipation fills the air. By the time the hammer falls, the coin has sold for a price that astonishes everyone present. This is the energy that surrounds coins like this. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, rarity, and the thrill of owning something few others have. And for those who find such a coin in circulation, it feels like striking gold. The excitement of discovering a rare coin in your pocket change is hard to describe, but it's a moment that many collectors cherish forever. So what does all of this mean for you, the viewer? It means that the next time you hold a penny, take a closer look. Study the date. Examine the mint mark, or the absence of one. Pay attention to its shine, its details, and its condition. You never know when you might come across one of those elusive 2007 no-mint mark pennies that could be far more valuable than a single cent. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. How much can one of these rare coins actually sell for? While values can vary depending on the coin's grade, market demand, and the specific circumstances of the sale, some examples of the 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln penny have sold for an astonishing sum. One of these coins, in remarkable condition, has been reported to fetch as much as $8,583. Welcome back to the channel, where today we dive deep into the fascinating world of modern American coins. Many people assume that only old, antique, or silver coins hold any real value, but the truth is much more intriguing. In fact, some of the most ordinary-looking coins in your pocket change today could be worth far more than just 1 cent. And one of the most striking examples of this hidden treasure comes from a very recent year, the year 2020. The coin in focus today is none other than the 2020 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it looks just like every other penny we've all handled countless times. Copper-colored, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Union shield on the reverse. Nothing about it screams rare or special. Yet, hidden among the millions and millions of pennies produced that year, a small fraction holds secrets that can make them incredibly valuable to collectors. Before we uncover the reasons why these coins matter and why collectors chase them, let's step back for a moment and talk about the penny itself, its legacy, its design, and why a no-mint mark version from 2020 sparks so much curiosity. The Lincoln cent is the longest-running design in American coinage history. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin replaced the Indian head cent and has remained in circulation ever since. Over the decades, the reverse design has changed several times, from the original wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, and finally, starting in 2010, the Union shield we still see today. That shield is meant to symbolize unity, with its 13 stripes and a banner across the front reading, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. By 2020, the Lincoln penny had already seen over a century of circulation. Millions upon millions were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. But here's where things get interesting. The Philadelphia mint, unlike Denver and San Francisco, often doesn't include a mint mark on certain coins. That means if you have a 2020 penny without a mint mark, it likely came from Philadelphia. For many collectors, coins without mint marks hold special intrigue, especially when they show unique errors, variations, or proof-like conditions. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone care about a coin as recent as 2020? After all, it's barely a few years old. But coin collecting isn't always about age. It's about rarity, condition, and demand. And the 2020 no-mint mark penny checks all of those boxes under the right circumstances. One factor that plays a huge role in the coin's value is condition. Most pennies from 2020 entered circulation immediately, bouncing around in pockets, purses, registers, and coin jars. They quickly pick up scratches, wear, and discoloration. But a small number were preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, bright, shiny, and nearly flawless. Collectors call this mint state. And within mint state there are even higher designations like MS65, MS67, or MS69, depending on how perfect the surfaces are under magnification. The higher the grade, the more a collector is willing to pay. Another key factor is error varieties. Modern coins, despite advanced technology, are not immune to mistakes during production. A double die obverse, off-center strike, die cracks, or missing elements can instantly transform an ordinary 2020 penny into a collector's dream. Some pennies from this year have shown doubling in the date, letters, or shield details. Others may have subtle misalignments, or die chips that set them apart. These types of coins are highly sought after because they represent something unusual, a moment where human error or machine mishap created a unique piece of history. Collectors also care deeply about the story behind a coin. And 2020, as we all know, was not just any year. It was a year marked by global challenges, disruptions, and changes. Coins minted in that year carry a certain symbolic weight. Many collectors look at a 2020 penny and see it as a keepsake from a historically significant moment in modern history. That added narrative makes them even more appealing to own and treasure. But here's where the excitement really begins. Out of the countless 2020 pennies without mint marks, only a fraction have been preserved in the highest conditions or carry desirable era varieties. Those few coins have shocked collectors and auction watchers alike by selling for far more than anyone might expect. Imagine pulling a penny from your change, something you almost don't notice, only to realize it could be worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. This is why coin roll hunters, collectors, and hobbyists spend hours searching through bags of pennies from banks, coin machines, and circulation. They know that the hidden gems are out there, and sometimes luck rewards those with sharp eyes and patience. The thrill of discovery is part of what keeps the coin collecting world alive and growing, even in the digital age. Let's talk about specific details collectors watch for in the 2020 no-mint mark penny. First, the strike quality. A sharp, well-defined strike with no weakness in Lincoln's hair details or the shield's lines is highly desirable. Second, the luster. Coins with brilliant, original luster that sparkle when tilted under light fetch higher grades. Third, the absence of contact marks. Since coins are mass-produced, they often bump into each other during minting and shipping. A coin with minimal marks is rare and more valuable. Additionally, errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes, or dyed breaks create dramatic visuals that collectors love. For example, an off-center penny where part of the design is missing can transform a 1-cent coin into a showpiece that sells for hundreds. And even small die chips, like an extra blob of metal near Lincoln's eye or the shield's lettering, gain nicknames in the hobby community and attract collectors who chase varieties. Another reason the 2020 penny has captivated collectors is grading. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have slabbed thousands of these coins, giving them numeric grades and often attributing special errors. High-grade coins, especially those graded MS67 or higher, sell for impressive premiums. It's not uncommon for collectors to pay big money for the finest examples, since rarity isn't just about how many coins exist, it's about how many exist in top condition. Now imagine this scenario. You find a 2020 penny in your change, and it looks nearly flawless. You set it aside, send it to a grading service, and it comes back as a high MS grade with full red luster. Suddenly, what was once just pocket change becomes a valuable collectible. Stories like this are what fuel the excitement of the coin world. So why does this matter to the everyday person? Because it shows that treasure hunting doesn't always require a shovel or a map. Sometimes, it's right there in your wallet or piggy bank. That sense of possibility, that a coin worth only a cent could actually be worth a fortune, is what makes the hobby so engaging. And now, let's address the question everyone wants answered. What is the maximum value one of these 2020 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies has reached? While most examples are worth just face value or slightly more in circulated condition, the rarest and highest quality specimens have commanded astonishing prices at auctions. In fact, one such coin has sold for an incredible $7,298.